Lily Cruz stood near the grand entrance of the ballroom, her fingers nervously tracing the hem of her simple navy blue dress. The towering chandeliers cast a warm glow over the room filled with elegantly dressed guests, their laughter and chatter swirling around like a delicate dance she felt only partly invited to join. The charity gala was a glittering event, the kind that promised endless opportunities for the well-connected, but tonight, Lily felt like an imposter amid the swirls of silks and glittering jewels. Her dress was modest, nothing like the elaborate gowns adorned with sequins and satin flowing around her. She had chosen it deliberately, knowing her true purpose was to help, not to dazzle. Still, as guests passed by, she couldn't help but feel the weight of their curious glances. Across the room, Vanessa Monteros leaned confidently against a polished mahogany table, a glass of champagne in hand. With her perfectly coiffed hair and pristine designer dress, Vanessa was the picture of privilege, her laughter sharp enough to cut through the room's gentle hum. She was well known as a sharp-tongued heiress, whose wealth and status were as dazzling as the diamonds she wore and as unyielding as the smirk playing at her lips. Vanessa's gaze soon fixed on Lily. Her eyes narrowed with amusement before her voice rose just enough for those nearby to hear, dripping with disdain. "Is that what you're wearing to a gala? Seriously?" The room turned slightly, heads drifted toward the exchange, and a hush began to fall. Lily's heart skipped. The simple dress that once felt like armor suddenly seemed like an invitation for scorn. The gala host, a poised figure at the room's center, caught the scene unfolding with quiet interest, offering no immediate reaction. Vanessa's mockery lingered in the air, leaving an awkward tension that the room held its breath to witness. Vanessa Monteros's voice rang louder now, cutting through the chatter like a knife. "Honestly, Lily, don't you think you're a little out of place here? This is a gala for the city's elite, not a place for someone who looks like she just walked in off the street." Her tone was sharp, and her words carried the unmistakable sting of disdain. A few nearby guests exchanged glances, their whispers rippling across the room like a wave. Lily's cheeks burned, the growing attention unbearably intense. She swallowed hard, trying to steady her breath, but the entire hall seemed to tilt under the weight of Vanessa's cruel remarks. I am here to support the cause," Lily responded quietly, her voice barely rising above the murmur of the crowd. She clutched her clutch bag tightly, fingers digging into the leather as if it might give her strength. Vanessa smirked, stepping closer, her eyes gleaming with a mix of superiority and satisfaction. "Support? You? Tell me, what exactly have you done to deserve being here? Organize a bake sale? Hand out flyers? This event isn't for social workers in training," she sneered, relishing each word, each jab poised to belittle. Lily's jaw tightened, the normal warmth she tried to summon flickered uncertainly. She wanted to retreat, to disappear into the shadows of the grand room, but Vanessa's words anchored her firmly where standing felt impossible. A few guests laughed quietly but nervously, uncomfortable with the overt cruelty, while others seemed amused, clearly reveling in the spectacle Vanessa created. Nearby, a slender woman shifted awkwardly, her gaze fixed on the scene. A subtle scowl flickered across her face as she looked at Vanessa's smug expression. But no one moved to intervene. The room's energy twisted, caught between discomfort and entertainment. Lily's voice rose just a fraction, an edge of defiance threading through her words. "I'm here because I believe in this cause. Dress doesn't define commitment." But Vanessa merely raised an eyebrow, seemingly unfazed, and leaned closer as if to deliver a confidential verdict. "Believe whatever you want, but everyone here sees who you really are." As the words hit her, Lily felt a whirlwind of emotions, humiliation, frustration, and a twinge of anger flickered to life inside her. She looked around, hoping for an ally or even a neutral face, but found none that offered sanctuary. Her hands trembled, and a lump formed in her throat. The room reverberated with soft murmurs as Vanessa's insults echoed. Suddenly, Vanessa took a deliberate step in front of Lily, blocking her path. "You're not leaving yet, are you?" she said sarcastically, voice low enough for just Lily to hear. No one just walks away when they don't belong. Lily's heart pounded, chest tightening, but she refused to give Vanessa the satisfaction of breaking. "I need some air," she said, voice even but timid. She tried to sidestep, gently brushing past the heiress, but Vanessa moved to intercept again, arms crossing in front like an invisible barrier. Guests now watched, some shifting in their places, others staring unabashedly. The gala host's poised figure caught Lily's eye briefly across the room, yet still, no immediate reprieve came from that direction. Vanessa's face twisted into a faintly cruel grin. "Don't think this is over, Lily. You'll stay and face what you've brought on yourself." The others stifled chuckles and whispers grew louder, the auditorium now fully immersed in the tension. Lily's heart raced, cheeks hot with the flush of unwanted attention. Somehow, she felt the weight of the room pressing down, like a spotlight that exposed every vulnerability she had carefully hidden. Her shoulders straightened slightly, trying to reclaim a fragment of dignity. A guest near the edge of the gathering, an elegant older man with silver hair, glanced over with a furrowed brow, whispering to his companion, "That's uncalled for. She's here for the right reasons." The companion nodded but said nothing. From behind, a younger woman in a sleek teal dress leaned close to her friend, murmuring under her breath in disbelief, "Who does Vanessa think she is? We're supposed to be charitable here, not petty." Yet again, the voices were muted, hesitant to stir the uncomfortable undercurrent Vanessa had created. The gala's quiet hum felt shattered now, replaced by a brittle tension. Lily's pulse quickened, her breath shallow and uneven. Her initial resolve warped into confusion, leaving her unsure of what to do next or where to go in a room that suddenly felt hostile. Vanessa's smirk widened as she saw the effect her words had wrought. "Stay put," she commanded softly, making it clear she had no intention of letting Lily slip away unnoticed. "You belong in the audience, watching, not walking among us." Lily swallowed hard. The desire to flee tugged at her fiercely, but she also realized that retreating in silence would allow Vanessa's cruelty to remain unchallenged. She took a shaky step backward, her eyes flickering toward the host again, searching for some sign of support, some gesture to rescue her from this barrage. The gala host's gaze met hers, calm but unreadable, a moment suspended before the room seemed to hold its breath with anticipation. Elsewhere, guests shifted in their seats, the crowd's attention now fully focused on the unfolding scene. In the silence, Lily's thoughts raced. She felt exposed, standing at the center of a storm she hadn't seen coming. The laughter and whispers from around her seemed to blur into one sustained wave of discomfort. Her pride and self-worth felt battered, and yet, deep beneath the embarrassment, a quiet resolve began to kindle. But at this moment, the spotlight was merciless, and it seemed that Vanessa had claimed the upper hand. Thanks to her sharp words and unyielding presence, Lily was trapped in a moment of social cruelty. The room awaited what would come next, eyes flicking between the two women, some with curiosity, some with judgment, and others with unease. What would Lily do next? Would she retreat into silence, or find a way to rise above the humiliating storm that threatened to engulf her? The question hung in the air, inviting everyone to wonder, what would they do, in the vulnerable space where being underestimated and mistreated felt like the only option? The gala's elegant atmosphere had shifted. The night had become a test not just of appearance but of character, and Lily's quiet but unmistakable struggle to endure under such pressure was now the focus of all eyes. The room's murmurs grew softer, the buzz of conversation dimming under the weight of the moment. Lily stood rooted, the glances and whispered judgments swirling like a storm around her. Her neck was hot with embarrassment, the simple dress she wore suddenly feeling like a barrier rather than armor. Then, from the far side of the room, the gala host, the elegant and highly respected philanthropist, Ms. Marianne Bellamy, stepped forward. She moved with a quiet grace, her eyes calm but full of purpose. The crowd instantly sensed a shift, as if a breath of fresh air had entered the stifling space. Marianne approached Lily, her smile warm and genuine. Without hesitation, she opened her arms and pulled Lily into a heartfelt embrace right there in the center of the ballroom. The gesture was so unexpected and so sincere that a hush fell over the guests. The room, which had moments before been filled with tense whispers and cruel glances, now seemed suspended in amazement. Vanessa's smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of confusion and irritation. She stepped back, suddenly unsure of how to respond to this display of acceptance. Marianne's voice carried clearly, projecting confidence and kindness. Lily Cruz has been the heart of this gala's success. Her dedication to this cause, working behind the scenes day and night, is what has made this evening possible. The guests turned their eyes to Lily with new curiosity and admiration. Whispers rippled through the crowd, not of judgment, but of surprise. Some guests nudged each other, exchanging glances that acknowledged how wrong they had been to judge her by her dress. Lily's cheeks flushed, but now the warmth was different, rooted in pride rather than shame. She straightened, her earlier timidity melting away under the glow of approval. Her voice, when she spoke, was quieter but firm. "Thank you, Ms. Bellamy. I believe this cause deserves all of our efforts, regardless of how we look or where we come from." Vanessa's eyes narrowed, the confident mask she usually wore slipping ever so slightly. Several guests whispered among themselves about the irony of her demeanor, how her sharp words had so starkly contrasted with the genuine impact Lily had made. A few guests even laughed quietly, their amusement tinged with empathy as they began to see Vanessa not as the queen of the room, but as a woman caught off guard by her own misjudgment. One elderly gentleman, seated not far from Vanessa, chuckled and said to his companion, "I think Miss Montero's just got a lesson in humility, thanks to this remarkable young woman." Vanessa's lips pressed into a thin line, and for a moment, she seemed to shrink back, unsettled by the turn the evening had taken. Her gaze darted around, seeking support, but many eyes now rested on Lily with respect, on Vanessa, with critical distance. Lily's earlier insecurities gave way to a calm determination. The stain of embarrassment lifted, replaced by a quiet assurance that her work and her character mattered far more than any dress or superficial impression. The gala host stepped aside, inviting Lily to the microphone at the front of the room. The guests parted respectfully as Lily made her way forward, every step more confident than the last. The microphone felt heavy in her hands, but Lily knew she had something important to say. "I may not have come dressed in the grandeur this room is used to," Lily began, her voice clear and steady now, "but my commitment to this cause is what truly brought me here. We all have a role to play, no matter how small it may seem. Sometimes, it's the quiet work behind the scenes that changes the most lives." The crowd responded with a warm round of applause, genuine and sincere. Vanessa, standing at the edge of the room, looked down briefly, then forced herself to meet Lily's gaze, a hesitant acknowledgement that things were not so simple after all. The tension melted further, replaced by an atmosphere vibrating with newfound respect and admiration. Throughout the rest of the evening, Lily was approached by guests eager to thank her, to ask questions about the community work she so passionately described. The elegant ballroom, once a landscape of judgment and division, softened into a place of connection. Vanessa quietly slipped away at one point, her usual loud presence fading into the background. The night had shifted palpably, and the earlier spectacle of mockery gave way to an evening marked by genuine appreciation. Lily's courage to stand tall amid mockery had transformed her image in the eyes of the crowd, and shifted the course of the gala altogether. After the applause faded, Lily stepped away from the microphone, the steady hum of admiration filling the grand ballroom. She took a moment to breathe, the reality of the evening settling over her like a gentle warmth. It was hard to reconcile the simple woman who had nervously entered the gala just hours before with the confident figure now receiving nods and smiles from guests she barely recognized. Behind that modest navy blue dress was a story far richer than appearances could ever suggest. Lily Cruz was not just a volunteer or a newcomer trying to find her place in a world that favored glitter and grandeur. She was a social worker whose dedication ran deep into the heart of the city's toughest neighborhoods. For years, she had quietly fought to bring resources to those overlooked by society, the marginalized families, the struggling youth, the elderly isolated by poverty. Her lifestyle was one of humility by choice, not necessity. The modest dress was not a sign of desperation but a reflection of her values. She chose simplicity because she believed true worth wasn't in silk or diamonds, but in the work people did to help others. Tonight, she had come directly from a community center where she spent countless hours, the very kind of place that inspired this gala. Lily's past was marked by resilience. Raised by a single mother in a modest home, she had taken the path of education and hard work to carve out a meaningful role for herself. She could have pursued more lucrative corporate avenues, but her heart always pulled her towards service. The gala host, Marianne Bellamy, was one of the few who really understood the depth of Lily's commitment, having worked alongside her on numerous projects before. As the evening stretched on, Marianne approached Lily once more, away from the crowd. "You handled that moment with grace," she said softly. "Many would have crumbled under the pressure. You're an inspiration." Lily smiled, gratitude softening her usual reserve. "Thank you. I just want people to see that every effort, no matter how quiet, matters. Even if it doesn't come wrapped in luxury." Marianne's eyes reflected understanding and admiration. "The world needs more people like you, in boardrooms, galas, and on the streets. Your modesty is your strength." Their conversation faded gently as Marianne stepped back toward the gathering. Lily's mind wandered to Vanessa Montero's, the wealthy heiress whose scathing words had ignited the evening's conflict. Vanessa's glittering facade now seemed fragile, thin, and brittle beneath the weight of her own arrogance. Dressed in her designer's stunning gown, Vanessa had always used appearances as a shield and weapon, a way to assert dominance in social circles. But tonight, as whispers drifted about her from guests and her own glance betrayed uncertainty, the sharp edges of her privilege dulled. In her heart, Lily felt no triumph over Vanessa's faltering. Instead, she pondered how many people perhaps lost their way behind the veil of wealth and entitlement, blinded to the humanity beneath. Her own simple dress became a symbol, not of inadequacy, but of authenticity and purpose. She thought about the gala's theme that night, building bridges through compassion. It was an ironic backdrop to Vanessa's initial cruelty but a perfect frame for Lily's quiet triumph. The event was meant to celebrate connection, empathy, and communal effort. Lily embodied these ideals far more tangibly than any silk or jewel. Later, seated in a quieter corner of the ballroom with a glass of water, Lily reflected on the evening storm and the unexpected light it had shed on her life. The people who mattered, the ones committed to change, had seen her not as a charity case or a curiosity, but as an ally. The gala offered not just recognition but also a platform, a rare opportunity to speak to a room full of influential figures. Lily knew this moment could ripple far beyond this night: potential partners for her work, donations, volunteers inspired by her unpretentious passion. She glanced once more toward the ballroom's entrance, where the elaborate decor seemed softer now, less blinding. In that gentle light, humility found its place among grandeur. As the night moved toward the final speeches, Lily sensed a new chapter unfolding, one where her voice would be heard, where simplicity and sincerity could stand proud beside wealth and prestige. The evening was far from over, but inside Lily, a quiet anticipation stirred, not for personal glory, but for the meaningful change she could help continue to build. She touched the fabric of her navy dress, once a source of anxiety but now a quiet emblem of her journey and purpose. Somewhere between the glittering echoes of polished heels and whispered accolades, Lily Cruz had found a place to stand tall, fully herself, ready to shape the community she loved. As the gala's final moments approached, the atmosphere shifted once more. Vanessa Montero's, once the center of attention for all the wrong reasons, found herself retreating into the background. The subtle rejection wasn't loud or overt, but the whispers and exchanged glances among guests spoke volumes. She overheard fragments of conversations, disapproving murmurs about her earlier behavior, comments on her lack of grace, and even concern for her apparent insecurity when confronted with genuine purpose. Vanessa's usual confidence faltered, and her bright laughter, once a defining sound of the evening, dimmed into a silence that followed her through the crowd. She moved through the room like a shadow, feeling less like a queen of the social scene and more like an outsider grappling with unexpected humility. Across the ballroom, Marianne Bellamy watched this with quiet satisfaction. The gala was more than an event tonight, it was a subtle but powerful lesson. And as the organizer and host, Marianne knew the importance of moments like these, not just for the community but for the individual growth of those involved. After the guests began to mingle toward the evening's close, Marianne approached Vanessa. Her tone was measured but firm. "Vanessa, I need to speak with you in my office." The heiress's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but she nodded and followed Marianne through a corridor lined with tasteful art and soft lighting. "What happened tonight was unfortunate," Marianne began, her voice calm yet resolute. "Your words toward Lily Cruz were harsh and misplaced. This event celebrates compassion and inclusion. If you cannot align with those values, we will have to reconsider your role here." Vanessa's mask cracked. For the first time, the consequences of her arrogance hit home. She swallowed hard, nodding quietly. There was no room for argument. "I will expect a sincere apology to Miss Cruz," Marianne continued. "And a genuine effort to support our cause, or we will no longer invite you to participate." The words hung heavy between them. Vanessa left the office with a mixture of regret and reflection, carrying the weight of a social rebuke that cut deeper than any public correction. Meanwhile, Lily, unaware of the private conversation, was approached by several prominent figures who expressed their admiration. One influential philanthropist, Samuel Hayes, extended an invitation. "Lily, we need someone with your dedication on our board. Your passion and authenticity are exactly what this movement needs." Marianne smiled warmly as she joined the conversation. "Lily, your impact has already been considerable. We want you to join our organizing committee permanently." Lily's eyes brightened, pride and humility in balance. "I would be honored," she replied. "There's so much work to do, and I'm ready to help in any way I can." The room filled again with applause, genuine this time, no whisper of judgment, only respect. Friends and strangers alike gathered around Lily, eager to be part of her mission. As the gala wound down, Vanessa found the courage to approach Lily. Their eyes met, and Vanessa's voice was softer than before. "Lily, I'm sorry for earlier. I was wrong to judge you. You've shown us all what courage and grace really mean." Lily studied Vanessa for a moment, sensing sincerity beneath the words. "Thank you, Vanessa," she said quietly. "We all have something to learn, don't we?" Vanessa nodded, a flicker of relief and resolve crossing her face. The evening's last notes were a testament to growth and redemption, not just for Lily's vindication but for the gentle transformation of those around her. As guests departed, Lily felt an enveloping sense of satisfaction, not in conquest, but in connection. Her journey at the gala had turned a moment of humiliation into one of empowerment, and in doing so, she had opened doors for greater good. Before leaving, she took a final glance around the room, her navy dress now a symbol of humility embraced rather than mocked. Outside, the cool night air greeted her like an old friend. She inhaled deeply, letting the tension of the evening fall away. Later, as she recounted the night to close friends, her voice was calm but her eyes shone with conviction. Her story wasn't one of wealth or grandeur, it was one of quiet strength and the belief that sincerity could carve a place in any world. What would you have done if placed in Lily's shoes, standing alone against scorn and judgment? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe. See you in our next story.